I'm super excited about having this episode today. I hope you guys like the episode. Please share it, like and subscribe, and we'll continue to bring more content as the weeks go by. And I hope you enjoyed the episode today. So, Ceasar, man, you just had a phenomenal viral video that just happened just the other day. It was somebody walking to your car and they were actually talking about religion. Man, tell me about that. How did that go? And what do you think made it go viral?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so I think the reel that you are referring to is I was interviewed by the School of Hard Knocks, where like they come in different cities and like they'll interview people that are doing well. And ultimately, once you start talking to entrepreneurs, we can talk entrepreneur speak directly from our own experiences that have impacted us.
True that.
But he asked me something very specific. He said, what is the role that faith plays? Like, what is the role that God plays in your life? And something that I teach my clients is that your brand should be something that's congruent to your values. And for me, this is the hierarchy in my life. It's God, my wife, my family, my company, then my community.
Nice.
Right? But specifically when I said God, I said I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
So I said, look, I don't know whose God's is what. For me, it's Jesus. And so for me to be able to say that, people really gravitated towards it because people talk about God and they say God, 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 God. But I'm like, I don't know exactly what kind of God you're talking about. But if you're going to go in that arena, this is the kind of God that I'm speaking to. And it really resonated with individuals where they were like, wow, like finally somebody's not afraid to be very direct and specific with what it is that they believe in and who they are following. And so it resonated. I mean, I got like 5 million views on it. I've had other videos get like 1 million. I've probably had like 4 or 5 videos that have got 1 million plus. This one specifically was over 5 million. Organically, like I don't boost, I don't buy followers. I'm anti against that because I think once you start boosting and once you start buying followers, what happens is you don't even know who you're talking to, right? Like it's just, you get to a point where you're believing your own propaganda at that point and it's aimlessness.
So, I mean, it's a polarizing subject sometimes, because you throw that out there and you're putting your faith in there because it's something you believe in, you truly believe in. But it could be polarizing depending on your market. I mean, so you had a lot of good comments and I'm sure you had some other comments that maybe were not so good. What type of comments do you feel that you saw, like, something that was like life-changing that you read, you're just like, wow, that touched me, that touched my heart?
No, absolutely. And I would say the first thing that it shouldn't be polarizing, right?
Shouldn't.
Because if I'm coming up and I'm being very open, and if we're respecting people's faiths, and I say Buddha, and I say Muhammad, and I say Hare Krishna, and I say whomever, it's like, whoa. Yeah, we're going to be tolerant. But for some reason, I don't know why there's a stigma. Like if I say Jesus, whoa, it's the boogeyman.
Yeah.
But me, I'm like, no, I'm going to say Jesus. Like, shout out to all the others. Here's my God. This is who I serve, right?
Course.
So within that realm, I want to make a very specific statement. Just because I profess mine doesn't mean that I'm diminishing yours.
True.
If oftentimes I find where there's a dissonance where people feel that, it means maybe there's something within themselves that they're unhappy with, that they have to think that they have to defend, but that comes across as more as some type of like insecurity within what they feel. Because if you're secure with what you have, or like your faith system or belief system, it doesn't bother you. Like, yeah, shout out to you. That's your faith. Outstanding. Yeah. So the first thing, I don't think it should be polarizing. Like, we live in a world that should be very tolerant, right? And very open. So it shouldn't be polarizing. And then the second thing is, when I did do the video, I said, look, if you have a similar story, share your story.
Yeah.
And I'll pin it. And so I've pinned posts about people saying, look, this is what God and the Lord has done in my life.
Of course.
And I'll pin it and it'll get 1,000 likes, 2,000 likes. I think one got 3,000 likes. There was a Christian singer on there that was like, hey, I just started making music. And like, I pinned this post and he had like 2,000 likes on the pin and got like 1,000 followers because of his music, right? And so I think that when you start to generate some kind of even if it's a small following, like I would think that I have a small following, that, you know, even out, like attention is a new form of currency, and currency needs to move, it needs to flow. And so distribute that evenly, don't just hold on to it. Like that's how new power moves. New power is a flow of information. So when people engage and interact with me, I like to pin post, I like to engage, I like to comment back and see how I could potentially work with them.
Yeah, you know, on that subject, on content creation, and you know, you spoke your truth, you spoke your belief, and everybody may feel different depending on the comment, but that's what you believe in, and you create your own culture, your own, you know, people that surround themselves around what you believe in because they share the same values as you do. And I think that's how social media, even just being social, you know, you connect with people on levels that you connect with people, you know.
Right.
The fact that you're sharing comments, you're pinning comments, you're engaging conversations, I think that's powerful. One thing you said that was powerful, and I felt that you're not pushing something on somebody else. This is what I believe in. This is who I am. And if you don't believe it, you're a bad person. You're not saying that at all. You're saying, this is me. Whatever you are into, that's what you're into. That's fine. Versus some people that go out there, they're like, no, this is how it's to be, and everybody that doesn't believe this is wrong. That's good that you don't share that type of mindset. And you know, on the subject of social media, you know, as you know, the law firm, you know, we do a lot of social media, and it's powerful. And I'm of the base of like educating and giving back and doing a lot of community work myself. And I have found myself that's been really powerful for me, because when you help a lot of people, Zig Ziglar said it. He said it, you know, if you help enough people get what they want, eventually you'll get what you want. And not that you're expecting to get something, right? But when you put that goodwill out there, for whatever reason, good stuff happens. I don't know how that works, but it just seems to work, right? And for us is continuously doing education and helping the community and feeding people and doing stuff like that has worked wonders in my life. And I'm sure you have similar stories that in your life as well.
No, correct. I mean, I strongly feel that there are two maxims in life, and that is there are some individuals who are transactional, and there are some individuals who are relationship driven. And you're in the relationships business.
For
like
sure.
people, your value proposition, your differentiator as someone in professional services is your brand. So I guarantee you, people call you and they feel like they know you because they're watching your TikTok, they're watching your Instagram, they're listening to your podcast, they're looking at the content, they're hearing you speak at events. So they probably say, hey, Ed, or hey, and they may know more about you than you even know, because there's a lot of attorneys in this world. And when they're looking at who do I call, they're going to call the individual that they associate with that potentially is within the same moral frame or brand or that they identify with. So like whenever I consult for my clients, I'm not necessarily big on brand, but I'm big on like, what is your identity? True. Like, what is your identity? What is your values system, right? What is the identity that you're trying to convey? And that's not me, right? Like that, I'm not making this stuff up. When you look at philosophers like Socrates and Plato, their biggest thing was, hey, how can I create eudaimonia? How can I flourish? And the key to flourishing is not letting yourself down. The key to not letting yourself down is creating a value system, like your own internal policies that you will adhere to no matter what. That's why Marcus Aurelius would say, that is my biggest fear, to let me down. True. Because I created this system. And if you let yourself down, you basically are telling yourself that you can't trust yourself.
Yeah,
because the value system that you made, you got the cheat code, you're going against. And that's someone who's lost. And so I'm big on build your identity. When you build your identity, have your values. Your values create your frame. Stay within your frame. Don't bend your frame for the individuals, whether it's who you're going to work with, what kind of relationships you're going to engage with, what kind of clients you're going to bring in, how you discuss the things that you discuss, the environment, the people, the associations. That's your frame. That's why in my firm, we always say, don't break frame. don't break frame. This is my frame. I'm not gonna break my frame for no one.
This video is sponsored by medlegalsafekeep.com. Now let's get back to the episode. You know, it's to your point. Whenever I get calls, actually I have to train my staff that when people call me, they're like, they'll pass them to me directly. I'm like, screen the person first, right? Because they'll call me like they've known me for a long time. They're like, hey bro, hey, what's going on? And I had to tell my staff, like, listen, I don't know that person, so please ask them a few more questions before you transfer them to me, because if not, I'm getting solicitors all day long. And it's because the more you're out there, the more you're authentic, the more people see you as a real person, not as just a brand, as a you know, something to stand behind. Like, I don't know the owner of McDonald's. You can't build a connection with that, right? At least not anymore. Like, I think that times have changed a lot since the big corporate brands. Now it's more about who you are, who's the leadership, and what you stand for, and what, like you said, what your values are. And, you know, for us, it's always been the same. You know, going out there and doing things for people, helping people. And when I've tried to get away from that, it's very disingenuous to me. And I've tried to get away from that. I went through a point that I'm like, all right, I want to be like, let's do more of a harder image. And I'm like, that's not me, right? I'm more of a, like, you know,
you're a people person.
People person, yeah. Now we'll push. I'm not a pushover, right? But at the same time, and I train my staff the same way, even when they talk to insurance adjusters and stuff like that. I had an employee, he's no longer with us, but he was screaming at the adjusters and being mean and using profanity. I said, you can't do that here, man. The way I do it, by the time we hang up the phone, they're going to look me up on social media. They're going to be like, oh my God, you're so funny. I love talking to you. You made my day. I'm going to make that person laugh. I'm going to push my point, right? I'm going to push my point, but I'm going to go banter back and forth with them. And because people do business with friends, right? At the end of the day, people that know you, like you, and trust you.
Correct.
And over the phone, they don't know you yet, but you got to build that gap and build that connection with them. And then you have that conversation with these people, and they're like, I like that person. And when they like you, and now they feel like they can trust you because you build that rapport, they'll want to help you. And life and business it's always been the same. So our brand is like, listen, we're gonna push. We're not a pushover, but we're not gonna start screaming at you and cussing at you, because that's not our brand. We're here for the people. We're here to help the community. We're here to give back and help people whenever we can. And you know, you and your business as public relations, and we've done business together. That's very big in your business, because it's all about that reputation of that person. Because in a heartbeat, as you know, you can damage your reputation by doing something scary. Look what's going on with Puff Daddy right now, right?
Yeah, 10 years ago, everybody wanted to go to that party.
Yeah, no one's going now. So it's one of those things that, like.
But here's the thing: everybody wanted to go to that party, and they probably knew what was happening in that party.
For sure.
The thing is, I don't know. He probably like failed to make his like Illuminati payment this month, but
somebody snitched on him.
Yes, I don't know. Whatever it was.
Yeah.
Now he's on the outs, and it's so funny how once you get on the outs, it starts to like just like eat at you, right? And destroy you. And so, but I guarantee you that most people in there, they're not shocked, and they knew what was happening at these puffy parties, right? But that's more of a conversation about power and authority, right?
Yeah.
Because that's why I'm big on frame. There's people that I will not work with.
True.
And I can make a lot of money. I'm gonna give you an example. I'll give an example. I had a guy come up to me, right? And he said, I represent 10 OnlyFans models. I will pay you $10K a pop a month for each one to manage their reputation and put them in Maxim, Muscle and Fitness, this, that, and the 4, yada, yada, yada. That's $100,000 a month.
Yes, it's a 1.2 million.
Right? That's good money.
It is. But
it's not my frame.
Not your frame.
I got 3 daughters. I'm good. So I told him, listen, I'm good. He goes, no, you're the only one that I know that you can do this. Like, yeah, I know I can do this, but I know I'm one of the best in the world. I don't need to work with you. I can work with whoever I want. Right? Because number one, I'm values based. I know what my frame is, and I'm not going to do business with you. Like, I'm good. But how many people, they don't have a frame? How many people, like Justin Bieber, right?
Yeah.
They said that his parents allowed him to spend a weekend with Puff Daddy
That's wild.
when he was 16.
And they knew, clearly they knew what's going on.
Like,
right?
God bless, come on.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care who you're like. I got a daughter that's 16, and I'm gonna be like, yeah, go hang out with this rapper for 3 days. I'm sure everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah, to build your career.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild.
No, I'm good. There's not no amount of money for me to break my frame. I'm good. As long as I have my value system, I don't care how and I've worked public officials, members of Congress, mayors. I'm working with people running for president in Latin America right now. So it's not like I work with universities, I work with top institutions. I work with who I believe in and who I like.
Of course.
I pick and choose.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, when I had when I owned the doctor's office before I was an attorney, I remember the story. There was two particular attorneys that they thought they can do whatever they want. And I'll give you an example, and I can't say their name because they're local attorneys. But one, he would come in to get free therapy, which is not a problem, but he started, one day, undressed completely, and he started trying to fill up my therapist. She came out crying. I said, listen, get your clothes, get the hell out of here. Get out of here. And I don't care how much referrals he sent me, never again. Another gentleman, he did get locked up for this. I remember he was sending me all his clients, and I didn't know what type of person he was yet. And I had lunch with him. And he says, hey, listen, this is when I was single. He says, hey, I know you're good with the ladies, whatever the case is. Can you get me some girls? I don't care what age, even if they're minors. I said, yeah, this is not working. That was the most awkward conversation I've ever had, ever. I said, yeah, this is not going to fly. And I said, because that was the last time I
you don't want that in your frame.
No,
like, imagine, like, you don't want that in your frame. Like, you don't want to work with people that is like, granted, people make mistakes. When I've done crisis management and like, I'll take on some clients depending on how the conversation goes. Like, if you messed up, like, no one's infallible, right? Everybody has flaws.
For sure.
But if I'm like, you know what, you're learning from them, like everybody's gonna stumble, I can help you out, I'm gonna help you out, right?
Yeah.
But if it's something where it's like you have an internal system, it's called instincts, and if it's something's like, yo, something in the milk is not clean, right? And I work in politics, I work in, media and public perception and in advocacy and lobbying. And the only reason I've been able to do this for as long as I've done so is because I have an internal moral compass as to like, these are the kind of projects I'm going to work on, the kind of people I'm going to represent, what I'm going to do, the kind of mission that I'm going to be advancing on behalf of the people that I represent. And so if you don't have that internal system, you're whacked.
Yeah.
You're going to end up at a Diddy party.
Yeah, so on the Diddy party, like you said, to go back to that Diddy party, the thing with that is that a lot of people did know about it. It's funny, when the party's happening, things are good, you have all these friends. The moment the shit that hits the fan, now where are those people at? They're like, oh, I didn't know. I had no idea. They knew. They were part of the party.
Yep.
They may not have gone to the fifth hour room, right? But clearly they knew. And he's known. And he's talked about it over the years. It's not like it's even a big secret. It's just that later on, he didn't get technically busted. But like you say, he probably missed his Illuminati payment, and now he's...
Dude, him, R. Kelly.
Oh my God, it's a wrap. It's a wrap.
Weinstein.
Yeah.
Epstein. Like, come on, bro.
I don't know if he's going to get out of it. But
Here's the craziest thing for me, right? Is that these individuals, it's not like a one-off. It's not like, hey, I'm going to deviate from
it's like
society.
1,000 off.
One-off
Or more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a behavior.
For sure.
But then if it's a behavior and if it's a learned behavior, that means that it was learned from somewhere where it was pervasive and it went unchecked. That means there is like systemic institutional evil where this is pervasive and it's the norm. It's okay. Because there's starting to be a pattern here.
Well,
right?
I think it goes back to power, because when Puff Daddy was younger in his career, he did get in trouble for running around naked in his house and doing crazy stuff. They said, hey, don't do that, but yet they still gave him a pass. And the more money he made, the more he got away with. It's like it's like a kid in their candy jar, right? The first time you see them, you're like, hey, don't do that, but you don't. He doesn't get reprimanded or she doesn't get reprimanded. Does it again. Now you don't even pay attention. You're like, all right, whatever. Just don't take too many cookies. And then they keep doing it over and over again. It gets to the point that they're like, what's next? I can get away with this. What else can I get away with?
Correct.
Go. If it goes unchecked for too long, you created a monster. And now to reel that person back in, it's impossible. Listen, I was younger and I was involved in some things that I shouldn't be involved in. We talked about this before. And it was a little bit. I started with just a little bit more, and it got to the point until I actually got arrested for something that wasn't mine that particular day.
Changed.
Everything changed. My confidence was too great, and I said, this is easy. I'm just dealing with friends, I'm dealing with whatever the case is, and I kept going on, and I'm so happy. Getting arrested was probably the best thing that happened to me, because it was a reality check. I'm like, oh my God, I can't get busted. I can't just be blatant about it. Talk about, I'm in clubs doing stuff with people and all over the place, thinking that no one is going to catch me. And yet the day I get in trouble is because somebody in my backseat is doing something and they come up to the car because of that. Ironically, it's not mine that particular day. Not saying I was perfect by far. I mean, I was involved in that lifestyle. But that changed my life, man. Because I needed that type of harsh treatment.
You have that
to check
restraint. You have, but not only that, you had somebody checking you, right? That was the legal system. Now what happens when you have the power, when you have the money, right? And maybe the law doesn't have the same relationship with you as it does with other individuals. So then now perversion becomes a form of power. So the things that Epstein was doing, Weinstein was doing, Puff Daddy, but this isn't new, right? So like I'm wearing a purple tie, right? Every time I wear a purple tie, I think about Rome, because the Caesars of Rome used to wear purple. They were the only ones that were allowed to wear purple. And a lot of them went unchecked, like Tiberius and Caligula. And they had the money, they had the power, but law didn't have the same relationship. So they had these grotesque, people talk about Caligula, right? But Caligula was the adopted son of Tiberius. He learned perversion became a norm to him. So when he became the emperor, the most bizarre things. That's why I respect and I look at the Stoics and I look at people like Marcus Aurelius who had the opportunity where power, the law, money had almost zero impact on his life, and he still chose to do what? Be good and have that grounding system, the value system. That's why it says, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled, right? Solomon, over 400 concubines, the wealthiest man ever to exist, said that all these things is what? Grasping for nothingness. The truest person is the one who wants to become the wisest version of themselves that hungers and thirsts for that righteous individual. Because what happens is you're either going to thirst for that and become what Socrates says is a philosopher king, virtuous, right? Or you're going to become a tyrant. But here's something that's a bit bizarre. You could be a philosopher king, but if society isn't ready for you, you're going to be looked at as though you're crazed. Or you could be a tyrant, but society could be so corrupt that you're looked at as though you're the most just.
Of course. Well, it's all about choices. It's all about decisions. I mean, and I can see that happening because the more power you have, the more money you have, the more influence, the more people fan your ego, the more, depending on your personality, depends on what your choices you make. You can go all the way left or you can go all the way right, to the point of like the Roman emperors. I mean, they were pretty crazy. Like they did a lot of things. And I watched the seasons of and I like to study that subject as well. And left unchecked, hence that's the reason why Rome fell at the end of the day, because it got too powerful and they started fighting within each other. greed and you know, a whole bunch of other issues basically crumbled
Correct.
Rome. And it's about making the right decisions. What makes somebody, when they have all the opportunity to do whatever they want, change their opinion of like, you know what, I don't want to go down that route. I want to go and help people, right? Like Mother Teresa or something to that effect. I mean, what is it? Albert Noble. He was the guy that made dynamite. I think it was. Mm-hmm. His first idea was to create dynamite. He was the king of dynamite, and he was like the biggest thing. And what happened was, and I remember reading about this. They put him like if he died, and they said it was like the king of destruction or whatever the case was. He read his obituary alive because they made a mistake. And he says, that's what my legacy is.
So he wanted to change his PR.
He wanted to change his PR. And the
Nobel
fact that he's
Prize.
the Nobel Prize for Peace, that's a major change.
PR. That's why public relations is important.
Super important. But he changed himself.
Mm-hmm.
Rockefeller the same. Rockefeller's the same. I mean, power, they came through capitalism, and I'm not opposed to capitalism, but I mean, there's a lot of labor, like a lot of issues there with like, underage workers, harsh labor environment. And then when he started getting a lot of health issues, a lot of health conditions, he started valuing things a little bit different. It wasn't always about just making the profits, which I'm not saying making profits is bad, but he started thinking like, well, you know what? I need to be better. So he started creating foundations and started creating, building schools and things like that, because the power took him to a certain point, and then he had the harsh reality. Myself was me getting arrested, and for him was, I'm about to die. I need to change the way I see things.
Exactly. I mean, you see the same thing with Bill Gates, right? Gates Foundation,
Yes.
and that's why public perception is critical. Even the things that we know about emperors and kings, it was all written down to kind of change the way that they were perceived, or like the things that they have done in the past, right? And so public perception is crucial, but then also it's, are you working towards becoming the best version of you?
Yeah.
Like, is that your ultimate goal? Like, for me, that's what my goal is, to be the wisest version of Ceasar Hernandez.
True.
Because in that wisdom, I know that I'm going to create the best environment, not just for myself, but then for my wife, for my family, for my children, for my company, for my community, in reaching that. Now, the challenge is, there's some of us that maybe don't want that.
Yeah.
I don't know, there's something wrong. Like, you ever heard of this dude called the Green River Monster?
No, I haven't heard that.
Out in like the Pacific Northwest? Dude, I saw this documentary, dude, it shook me to my core.
Wow.
Where it was this murderer, like a serial killer for like 25, 30 years, and he would go kill women, he will rape women, kill them, and bury them. For 25 to 30 years, nobody could nobody
insane.
can catch him. He had a wife and a kid. One of the women he killed, the kid was in the car. He was like, "I'll be right back. I'm gonna talk to my
Wife kid
friend."
didn't know about?
Didn't know about it.
That's wild. Yeah.
He gets caught. Right? They thought that this case would never be, like, that it would never be solved.
Sure.
He ends up getting caught. Right? And he's talking to the guy that caught him, that was been chasing him. And he goes, from a scale of 1 to 10, this is the cop talking to the killer. 10 being the most evil, what would you rate yourself? You know what he says? I'd give myself a 5.
5.
And
After
then
25,
the
30 years
detective goes, why? He goes,
Wow.
because I couldn't consume myself with it. I had to get a job. I had to have this false, I couldn't fully divulge myself into the insanity that I was.
That sounds like it's about 15 or 20.
All right, now hold on.
Yeah.
But then he asked the detective, scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most righteous, where would you rate yourself? You know what the detective said? 5.
So the same rating.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Are you living every single day congruent with being the wisest, best version of yourself every single minute of your life? No.
No. No, and none of us
right?
are. We can
In the
striving.
most correct. So we look at that individual and we're like, oh, that guy's insane.
Yeah.
But then we got to look at ourselves. Maybe let me get to 6 or 7, right?
Yeah,
Let
of
me get
course.
to that level. And it kind of shook me to the core as to like what my mission in life is.
If you like this content, please like and subscribe and share it and put your comment below. Yeah, I mean that's like my currently, as I told you, my wife and my daughter, they just passed the bar, and I feel that I continue to try to strive to be the best version of myself. My wife actually had the idea of going to law school when she was younger. Her mom passed away, so her dying wish, well, to her mom was like, I'm gonna become an attorney. But growing up, she always wanted to be an attorney. My daughter never really considered it. In fact, when I first opened the law firm, it takes a long time to build equity and build your business, keep putting money back into your business. My daughter had zero thoughts of like going to law school. And she's like, Dad, I have more money than you do. I said, no, you don't understand. I'm just refunding the law firm. I'm making more, I have more money saved. I'm like, no, you don't get it. I was like, I'm reinvesting back in the firm. That way the firm can grow.
Correct.
And then after a year, she's like, you know what? She sees my account now, and she's like, okay, you know what? I want to go to law school. So it was a beautiful story because she decided to go to law school. But my wife and her, they went to HSC together, Hillsborough Community College, USF, took to law school and passed the bar.
It's powerful.
And now my youngest is thinking about going to law school as well. But I feel that if I was disingenuous to myself, and I was like these attorneys that hate life and because complaining and not being a good member in society, they're like, I don't want to be like my dad, right? So the message we give them, but through our own actions, is like, listen, everybody's watching. And if you're leading by good example, people will follow. People want to do what you're doing because you're leading by good example. And I feel like I've done a good job at that. I can always do better.
Dude, but this is what I'm saying. Like, number one, I commend like your wife and your daughter.
Yeah.
But Ed, you pointed them in that direction through example because you were hustling with the health clinics, doing what you got to do, and you put it on yourself to say, hey, I'm going to go to law school, learn this whole new arena. And like, you did it because you were working while going to law school. It wasn't like a regular student that's like, I'm going to go to law school full time. My parents are going to take care of me. You were working, you had a family, you were married, you had children, you still had a company that you were running and going to law school, figuring it out. You didn't go the law firm route. You're like, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm going to build this out myself. So you don't even realize the impact that you had on your family. And now you're about to have a family of attorneys. And your family's from Cuba. So you just broke generational curses, and because of you have completely like transformed the trajectory of your family for generations to come.
Oh, for sure. I mean, at 31 I started school, like not like law school. At 31 I started like Hillsborough Community College.
Exactly.
And I was going to school in my suit, and it was weird because it's like 13th grade, right? Like straight out of high school.
Right.
And then I'm like the only guy in the suit making phone calls between classes, right? And then I went to USF, and then I went to law school, and then but I still had bills, still had a lifestyle, built, a whole life. And it wasn't easy, man. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's what
But I want to ask, what drove you, right? What drove you? Because imagine, like, this is the unglorified version. This is, hey, I'm at HCC in a suit. I got a side gig. Yeah. And then, oh, what do you want to do? I want to go to law school. And you probably got the eye roll, like, oh yeah, sure, buddy. Like, sounds good. What was driving you at that moment?
Well, the funny thing about it, and there's a whole long story. I'll condense it. I owned the doctor's office, as you could imagine, and I had the doctor's office because I got a car accident. There's a whole story behind that, and one day we can probably go through it. And I remember having the clinic, but I'm not a doctor, so I had doctors that worked for me, and they were changing the laws, and they wanted the doctors to be on the corporation, and basically I had to step down on my own business and be an employee of my own business on paper. That takes a lot of power away from you.
Right.
And I already have issues with like having somebody authority that tells me what to do. Imagine getting fired by my own employee. That's crazy. I already have daddy issues already. That's
insane.
Crazy, right? So I remember, and I owned the gym. I used to own a Pitbull gym as well at the time. And I remember driving back from the gym, talking to my wife. I'm like, what would I do if I had to close the clinic? We were living a comfortable life. you know, because I already had it for like 7 to 8 years. What would I do if I had to close the clinic? How would we live? And she's like, well, have you considered maybe going to law school, being an attorney? I said,
But what compelled her to say that?
well, because all my friends are attorneys.
Okay.
Right? And because I owned a personal injury clinic.
Right.
I did personal injury. We did therapy for people that got in car accidents, right? And so I said, that's a great idea. And you know me, and you've known me for a while. I jump, and I'm like, all right, let me figure out how to do this real quick. So that's my...
I gotta go to school. I gotta go to community college. I gotta go get a bachelor's. I gotta go...
I don't overthink it, bro. I don't overthink it. My wife, on the other hand, she's a planner. And the reason why she took so long, because she plans and plans and plans, and there's always something coming up. I'm like, that's a great idea. I feel like Legally Blonde. Yeah, it's easy. No, that shit was not easy. Not at all. So I actually enrolled in the next semester at HCC. And the way I thought about it, I said, listen, I'm not going to tell nobody. In fact, only the people I knew are like people that are really, really close to me.
Yeah, you're not going to say no.
So, and the way I said it, like, I'm going to go through this semester, finish the semester, done. Go to the next semester. What's your plans? I don't know. And I knew what my plan was.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Why did you do? Because I profess this a lot, to move in silence, right?
I did.
What's the reason why you did that?
Well, for one, I don't want people to keep asking me, how long is it going to take? Oh my God, it's so long. Are you serious? It's a long time. Are you really going to do that? Yes, I'm really going to do. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to tell nobody nothing. I'm like, I'm going to get a business degree. I'm going to, whatever. This. It, ironically enough, when I graduated from law school, I posted I graduated from law school. Thousands of people were sending comments on my Facebook that, like, oh my God, I didn't even know you went to school. I'm like, yeah, for the past 7 years. I was like, I just didn't want to tell everybody. I worked full time. I went to, you know, I did my 7 years, like a jail sentence, I call it. I did through that whole process. And then when I passed the bar, I posted it, and somebody called me and they said, hey, do you want your first client? And I said, sure, why not? I actually drove to Clearwater. I made all my forms for the law firm. I incorporated myself. I got logo all on the way there, right? And then I signed up my first client 2 days after passing the bar. And the law firm was born after that, right?
Dang.
But the crazy thing about it, man, is that I didn't tell nobody. And the few people I did tell, it was such a headache. How long do you have? Are you sure you want to do this? How's it going?
Like, why?
I was like, listen, bro, I just want to, let me just finish this semester. Then I'll worry about the next semester. I'm not even trying to think about 7 years down the line. Because it's, and that's what happens when people go into school and education. They're like, oh my God, it's take 7 years or 10 years. I don't want to do it. It's too long. It's going to pass the time anyways.
No matter what.
10 years is going to pass regardless.
No
5 years is going to pass
matter
regardless.
what. Yep.
At the end of the term, you can say, what did I do with myself? And it doesn't have to be school. It could be opening a business.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Whatever you want to, right? And that was kind of my thing. And, but you know, I hustle in silence, man. Now for promotion purposes, like now I have the law firm.
Yeah,
I talk about more
you got
things.
to put it out there.
I put it out there, right? But, and even then, when I'm working on a project, I don't talk about it that much until the project's done.
Until it's done.
Right?
Yep.
So like the app, the medical safety app that I've been working on since November, I haven't really told anybody.
I know you showed it to me, but you already got the UX down, and
yeah, it's already, you can download on iOS, you can do on Android, you could, and we're just making some tweaks. But until I feel it's not ready, and then when it's ready, I'm gonna say, hey guys, guess what we built?
I got a tech company now.
I got a tech company, right? Right? But nobody knows from November to last November till now that I'm even working on this project, right? When it's done, people know, and then you'll hear about it over and over and over and over.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
I'm very similar, where I just like to move in silence, bro.
Yeah,
I'm just like, I'm just a worker. Like, I'm gonna do it. Like, I think I was already working for myself for 3 years before my mom knew that, like, I was working for myself.
Yeah.
Because what is she gonna say?
They're scared.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Are you serious? Or you tell other people, oh, but where are you gonna get clients from? It's just like,
oh, I have a story about that, man. My mom, actually, I worked at a bank, and when I was younger, and my mom, her dream for me was graduate high school and be a manager at the bank. That's it.
That was the dream.
That was the dream. And when I stopped working at the bank, she's like, you ruin your career, you ruin your life. And I already had a 2-year-old daughter at the time, and I was, you know, I was going to go to massage therapy school. That we can open the clinic, all this other stuff. And mom was like, no. She did not believe in that idea, because, you know, she came from Cuba. She's about comfort, don't make too much waves, don't do, like, stay under the radar, right? So so she was not about it, man. My wife, thank God, was definitely on board, and she kind of pushed me. It's like, just go forward. Who cares? Whatever. And but yeah, so when I told her I was going to open my own business, that was not an easy conversation. You're throwing everything away. You're gonna lose everything. This is my mom, and my mom loves me, like unconditional love, right? But it's what she was used to, what she's what she's accustomed to. For her, security, working at a W-2 job, 9 to 5, like get your check, go home, right? That was her thing. That's not my thing, right? So I there's a lot of things I haven't told her. Now she's like, "Oh, hijo, do whatever you want."
Yeah, now because she's like,
now I have a 24-year track record, right?
Right now they don't say nothing.
Yeah, now don't say anything. But to your point, man, it's so true.
But I want to go back to, because there might be people listening to this and they might be in the wrong environment, or they might be just starting. But I really want to go back to, you're at HCC, right? Did you take any remedial courses? Or you went right into it?
Yeah, I went straight in. Well, no, I did. I actually had to take algebra.
You're in remedial.
Oh my God,
algebra. You're in remedial math.
God, that was difficult.
Arithmetic.
Yeah, I remember that.
1 + 1. Right? Because I did that. I was in remedial.
Yeah.
I did the exact same thing.
It's hard, bro.
So here you are, remedial math, first lesson, arithmetic, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Right?
No, things that you forget.
Talk to me about, like, because you see the big picture, but hey, you're here starting with 1 + 1.
Yep.
What like drove you to like humble yourself and be like, I know where I'm heading. I'm at HCC. There's kids in flip-flops and freaking cargo shorts. You already have a company. Like, talk to me the process of having to humble yourself to do that work, because a lot of people want to skip the work.
Well, I can tell you what pushes me is being talked down to, being ignored. And let me tell you what happened. I went to HSC, and a professor, it was difficult. I'm not gonna lie, it was algebra. It's actually, there's this exact story on this subject, algebra. He says, Mr. Reyes, do you have a learning disability? I said, oh, this dude right here. I'm like, I make more than he makes 100 times over every year, right? And I was like, no, why? He's like, you can't figure this out? I said, you know what? Forget, I was going to say another word. So that pushes me. I'm like, you know what? All right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this well, because I'm not going to go back. I'm not going to quit, right? And I made sure I got a good grade, and I went through and I passed. And I remember also being in financial accounting, and the guy was the dean of financial accounting at the time, and I was like,
is that USF?
No, this was at HCC still. HCC, those teachers are rough, man. And so I tried to switch classes, and I couldn't. He was the only person teaching that particular class for the schedule that worked for my schedule, right? And I ended up having to go back to his class. So I said, you know what? I'm going to make sure I'm going to force myself to like this guy. I sat in the front to the point that, like, I can get his coffee spilled on me, and I'll laugh at his stupid jokes and do whatever I can. I'm like, but you know what? When I started treating differently, he started helping me a lot more. When I came in like entitled, like, you should help me because you're my teacher, complete fail.
Gonna help out,
right? But when I start saying, you know, hey, I really need help with this, he took a lot of time to help me out. So one person pushed me away, and my ego basically said, no, I'm not gonna stop. And the other person, I was not in the right mind frame until I said, you know what, let me ask for real help. But you know, that's what pushed me, man. Like I don't like being told that I can't do something. Huge issue for me.
I'm very similar.
You know what I'm saying? So if you said you can't do something, I'm like, watch me. That literally is my thing. All right, I got you. Especially if you say I can't do something in a very cognizant, way, like, oh, you're not smart enough, you can't do, like,
it turns into fuel.
Oh, fire.
It turns into
fire fuel. Yeah, it's crazy. Nitro fuel.
It turns into fuel. No, I'm very, very similar. And I had an experience, that I've talked about this in other interviews, where I had gotten arrested. I was maybe like 13 years old back in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And I got arrested for being outside of school, truancy. But before the arrest, we got into a fight. I was in Sunset Park. different types of gangs at that time. I'm not even going to say what gangs. We got into this big fisticuffs fight with a rival gang. And then on the way back to school to try to jump back into class, we got picked up by truancy, which is a paddy wagon, right?
I've been
the big van.
Yeah.
And one thing led to another, and they're like, look, we know you guys did it. Like, drop your weapons, just get back of the paddy wagon, and you get handcuffed, right? And when you get handcuffed, you sit on your cuffs.
Yeah.
Right? And the police officer decided to do a detour for some reason.
Yeah.
And then he goes, he takes the van and he parks it next to this prep school in Brooklyn called Poly Prep. It's like a boarding school. It's one of the best schools in the country. And then he stops the vehicle and then he goes, hey, I want all of you to take a look outside. And like you see all the kids in Poly Prep with like their uniforms and like their really nice gym clothes and they're like doing all their calisthenics and the football teams out there and they just look
great.
Like they look amazing.
Yeah, they do.
Right? It was white with navy blue letters and like the field is pristine and like it was like wow. And
not what you're used to. Not what I'm used to.
No, I'm not used to that. Then he goes, I want everybody to look to the right. He says, you see all that? He goes, those are the future leaders of America. They're the future leaders.
What a great lesson he taught you.
The future business people.
Look at that.
The future elected officials. And he goes, you see all of you in here? You're all the future scum.
One way to draw the point, I guess.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
And I had a quick mouth, but those words cut me because I was like, at this point, irrespective of where they're starting and where I'm starting, I could figure this out.
For sure.
I could figure this out. And it struck me to the core. It challenged me, you know?
Yeah.
And so I was 13 years old, right? I don't want to say that my life transformed immediately.
No.
But every time I step into an academic institution, I triple majored, bro. Like I was student body president.
Nice.
When I wanted to go to business school, I applied to Oxford because I wanted to know that I can compete with the best in the world and that police officer was absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
And here's what strikes me now. How many people are locked because of their circumstances in the hood with the same capacity that we have, but they're so locked in to the environment that they are that they can never truly live to the potential as to who they can become and contribute to society.
Well, I'll leave it with this on that subject. What changed my life was my wife. We had our first daughter when she was 15 years old. And because of my dad, who he was to me, he wasn't a very good dad to me. I said, I do not want to be like my dad. So I need to step up and do so. So I went from breaking into cars and doing illegal stuff and doing all these things I shouldn't be doing when I was younger. I said, that's it. I need to man up. I need to do something. And that changed my whole plan in my life. I said, I need to be better because I don't want my kids to see to grow up with a dad that's going to be, get arrested at some point, because all my friends were getting arrested at the time. I need to be a better person. And I said, I need to do something with my life. And that was the change that made me change from being a schmuck, a hoodlum, doing things and to say, I need to do better.
A maleante.
Yeah, man. Changed my life. I know we can go on forever and so we're gonna wrap it up.
We'll do a round two. No, but thank you for having me on your podcast. It's a blessing. I know we work together, but we have a friendship outside of our working relationships, and I love it. I want to continue to nurture it.
Yeah, for sure. If you like this content, please like and subscribe and share it and put your comment below.